I'm Aurora, a holistic nutritionist, wellness nerd, and you are listening to Her Health, a podcast where we get real about hormones, healing, and how to feel good in your skin. I'm here to cut through the wellness noise and give you grounded, honest conversations. Whether you're looking for sisterly advice or science-backed tips, I've got you. So take a deep breath, pour yourself a drink, and let's dive in. The information shared in this episode is not medical advice and is purely educational. Welcome back to the pod. I am your host, Aurora, and today it is time to have the hormonal birth control talk. I think this is one of my most requested topics, and in this episode, we're really going to dive into hormonal birth control, how it affects our bodies, how it affects our brains, how to come off of hormonal birth control safely, and support your body in starting to produce your own hormones again. We'll also talk about other ways that we can prevent pregnancy instead of hormonal birth control. So I went on the hormonal birth control pill, Yaz, when I was just 13 years old. I went it for acne, bad cramps, and irregular periods. At that time, we weren't really talking about the root causes of those issues and what could be behind them. At that time, it was just like, okay, hormonal birth control pill is going to balance your hormones and keep everything stable, regulate your cycle, and really help with the acne and the bad period cramps. I was on it until I was 27 years old. For 14 years, I was on this medication, and when I was on it, everything was great. My skin was so clear. I didn't have to worry about my cycle because it was always regular. I had zero problems when I was on it. One day, all of a sudden, when I turned 27, I just got this intuition and gut feeling that if I'm going to stay on this medication, something really bad is going to happen to me. I don't know what that feeling was, but I don't mess with my intuition. I always trust it. And usually when you get those sparks of your intuition, all of a sudden you have that aha moment. That's when your intuition is trying to talk to you and you really need to listen. So I quit cold turkey. At the time, I was studying to be a holistic nutritionist, but I didn't dive into women's hormones and women's nutrition yet. And I had no idea how the pill affected me and how to come off of it safely. And let me just say, it was a big shock. Yes, I was expecting that I'm gonna have some issues, but I had no idea how bad the issues would be. But it definitely makes sense after 14 years of being on synthetic hormones that it would take my body some time to rebalance. So within 2 months, my skin flared up. I got insane hormonal acne. My cycle was all over the place. My mood was all over the place. My body was so inflamed and it felt like my body was working against me, truly. I felt like absolute crap and I had no idea how to start balancing it all. I had zero help from my doctors, so I did what I've always done. Start studying, start learning, and start healing from the inside out. Looking back now, I wish I had understood what the pill was actually doing to my body. It was just masking those symptoms of acne and irregular periods and cramps and the things that were causing them. And it wasn't actually fixing anything. It's just a band-aid solution for all of our hormonal issues. But when we come off, those issues come back, and most of the time, they come back with a vengeance, and that's exactly what happened to me. I was never warned that when I come off the pill, that those issues are gonna come back. And I want every single woman to know that when we do come off of hormonal birth control, those issues that we're trying to solve with it are going to come back. They're not just gonna magically disappear. Being on the pill can be great, but what happens when we come off? If I had known how it affected me, I would have probably never gone on it, and 2, prepared my body better when I eventually wanted to come off. I hope that you find this episode educating and this will help you with the shock of coming off hormonal birth control and that you get to come off safely so that you don't experience what I experienced. I want us to be more informed of what hormonal birth control really does, what to expect when you come off, and how to support your body through it, because coming off of hormonal birth control is a big transition for your body. And it takes the body time to rebalance and start producing hormones again. So what does the birth control pill actually do to your body? The hormonal birth control pill and most hormonal birth control stops your ovulation and overrides your natural hormones. The primary goal of most hormonal birth control is to stop your ovaries from ovulating. Now, ovulation is extremely important for women's health. It's not only for fertility, it is also for bone health, for brain health, for mood, and stopping ovulation for years and years can really have some long-term effects. The synthetic hormones in hormonal birth control trick your brain's hormonal control centers that you are already pregnant, so no egg needs to be released from the ovaries. The estrogen helps to stabilize the uterine lining to control the bleeding, and progestin thickens the cervical mucus so sperm doesn't get through. So basically it's 3 components: suppressing ovulation, stabilizing the uterine lining, and thickening the cervical mucus. So our hormone levels are in a flat, artificial state month after month after month. The period that we get when we're on hormonal birth control is not a real period. It's a withdrawal bleed, but it's not a real cycle. It is important to understand that the synthetic hormones are not the same as what our body naturally produces. For an example, progesterone has really calming effects for our brain, and it's also amazing for our bone density and thyroid function. Whereas the synthetic forms of progesterone don't have the same effects. They don't always cross the blood-brain barrier well. And some are more androgenic, some are more estrogenic. So it's not the same as what your body produces. What it essentially means is that being on birth control and being on these synthetic hormones doesn't mean that you have the same healthy levels of estrogen and progesterone in the body that your body would naturally produce. Let's talk about the myth of regulating your period while you're on the pill. Doctors will often tell us that the pill will regulate our cycle and regulate our hormones. But in reality, it does not do that because we don't have a cycle and we don't have a real period while we're on the pill or on hormonal birth control. The monthly bleeding that we get when we're on hormonal birth control or on the pill is just the withdrawal bleed of us stopping the hormones for that week because we don't ovulate when we're on the pill. We don't have that natural flow of things. The bleeding that we get is just our body reacting to stopping the hormones. And it's not the normal shedding of the uterine lining that we would get if we were off the pill. So if before going on hormonal birth control or on the pill, you had irregular periods and now you're on the pill and you think that you have a regular period because you are on the pill, that's actually not the case. This is just the case of the drugs working and your body is responding to the drugs. But it's not a real actual period and it's not your natural menstrual cycle and flow. The pill is also extremely depleting. It can rob our body of nutrients, especially magnesium and vitamin Bs. It also kind of acts like an antibiotic, so it messes up our gut microbiome balance. It also robs our body of vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, and selenium, which are all big causes of hormonal issues after and the skin issues after what I experienced as well. All of these nutrients are crucial for energy, for hormone production, mood regulation, immune function, skin health. The synthetic hormones alter the way that we metabolize and absorb nutrients. And because the pill is taken long term, it can really create some deficiencies. Also, for an example, vitamin B6s are needed, and a deficiency in vitamin B6 can really contribute to mood changes and mood issues and mood swings. Magnesium, zinc, selenium are all important for skin health, which explains some of the post-pill acne that a lot of us get. And it is really, really sad that most doctors don't talk about this. We're not prepared for this at all. And it is documented that women on hormonal birth control have higher nutritional needs for certain vitamins and minerals and could benefit from supplementing with these, especially if you're planning to come off. And I'll get to that in a little bit. The birth control pill not only messes up the gut microbiome balance, but it can also cause inflammation and put us at higher risk of inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's disease, for an example. It's been studied that women with history of Crohn's in the family and being on birth control for more than 5 years puts us at 3 times more of a risk of developing Crohn's disease than if you were not on hormonal birth control. That's definitely extremely concerning. And because the pill alters our gut microbiome, we also experience more bloating, gassiness, and discomfort, which is why it's important to take good probiotics. Poor gut health, of course, has ripple effects. It causes more inflammation, more bad mood and mood issues, bad energy. And because the gut is a key player in eliminating excess estrogen from the body, this can cause the estrogen to recirculate improperly, causing even more inflammation and hormone issues. So in short, hormonal birth control is not just for our hormones and our reproductive organs. It also puts stress on our gut, our digestive system, and contributes to systematic inflammation. It also really affects our brain and our mood. I know a lot of women who suffer from depression when they're on hormonal birth control or feel like they're crazy. And because of that, they realize, okay, hormonal birth control is not for me, or at least this kind. And when doctors hear this, what do? They put you on another pill, and another pill, and another pill, and another form of hormonal birth control, all which are doing insane things to our bodies. Our body has to try to catch up to all of these synthetic hormones and this medication that we keep switching out. And it's no wonder that a lot of us can feel miserable. Because the pill alters our hormone levels, of course, it alters our brain, especially because of the progesterone part, because progesterone has very calming effects for our brain. In Denmark, there was a study done that showed that women who are on the contraceptive pill were 23% more likely to be prescribed antidepressants. And the risk was even higher for those who were on the synthetic form of progesterone, progestin. The study showed that 34% of women were more likely to be prescribed antidepressants. Of course, it doesn't mean that everybody will get depression or mood changes, but it does prove a link between hormonal contraceptives and mood changes, especially depression and anxiety. It's been studied that some women really experience irritability, even panic attacks. And the reasons are still being studied, but one theory is that the pill appears to blunt our regular stress response. Normally, when we face stress, our adrenal glands spike our cortisol, but when we're on the pill, we can have variations of how our adrenal glands and how our body responds to stress. There's also ongoing research about how the pill affects our memory and cognition. There are some small studies that suggest that we respond to emotions differently and what we find attractive. Because hormonal birth control interacts with the brain, we can choose our partners differently than what we would choose when we would be on our regular cycle, which is actually one of the most concerning parts about hormonal birth control. Obviously, this doesn't mean that every single person will choose their partner wrong if they're on the hormonal birth control pill, but it can have a big effect. And personally, I know people who have been on hormonal birth control. When they come off and when they have kids, they've realized that this is not the partner for you. Of course, there are other life things that change that. You grow up, things are different, people get divorced, it happens, but it can play a part, which is insane to me. Hormonal birth control also can lower our libido and sexual wellness. I don't think any of us want to have low libido and not want to desire our partners or not want to have desires at all. That's just normal. It's normal part of being human. And especially if you notice a difference with hormonal birth control, that's not fun. Some of it is because of the brain. Some of it is physiological. For example, the pill raises our liver's production of sex hormone binding globulin, which in turn binds testosterone. Yes, as women produce testosterone as well, meaning our free testosterone, which is mainly in charge of our sex drive, is lower. So this can result in lower sex drive, lower libido, lower desire, and even issues like vaginal dryness or decreased sensitivity. It's estimated that about 15% of women experience this. The synthetic hormones can also thin the vaginal tissues and reduce lubrication, which can cause pain and discomfort during sexual activity. Something that's also been studied now is, of course, also the risk of cancer. Something that hormonal birth control does is increase the risk of certain cancers. Now, this also varies from different hormonal birth controls, but hormonal birth control is labeled as carcinogenic. Also, the Depo shot, if you haven't heard, has been sued for its effects on women and how it affects our bone density. It can cause osteoporosis and brain tumors and strokes. This to me is extremely alarming and definitely not something to be played with. So what to expect when you're coming off of the hormonal birth control pill? Well, a lot of the issues that I had are to be expected. Acne, irregular periods, worse cramps, and kind of think about going back to your period of how it was before you went on hormonal birth control pill. That is very similar to what it's going to be, but it could be even worse. You could be coming out with a lot of nutrient deficiencies like I was, inflammation, gut imbalance, hormone imbalance, of course, hair thinning, hair shedding, bowel issues, gut issues. It can cause you to gain or lose weight. And if you had underlying issues like PCOS or endo, the inflammation can be very hard to deal with, and it can very much worsen those symptoms. Also, many women report mood swings, depression, anxiety. Also what I had because of all those imbalances and inflammation that's going on in the body. Because our bodies are now freaking out, we're not on synthetic hormones anymore, and we have to start balancing, and it has to start producing hormones again and balancing again. A lot of women can get migraines, fatigue, and it really takes time to rebalance. Because we are going through so much, it is a big, big transition. So focusing on your food, nutrition, and supplements is extremely important. Because coming off of hormonal birth control is so hard, we would think that doctors would warn us and prepare us and tell us, but they don't. Unfortunately, Western traditional medicine has been very slow in identifying and acknowledging the post-pill syndrome, which is very, very real. A lot of doctors might say, well, you're going to have the same issues that you had before, which, yes, is true, but also it's not the whole story. Because of years of suppressing ovulation, suppressing our own natural hormone production and replacing it with synthetic ones, and we could be coming off with a lot more inflammation and a lot more nutrient deficiencies, like I said, which all affect our natural hormone production and how our body is going to function. So this is how you're going to come off of hormonal birth control safely. And if you already came off and you're trying to rebalance, this is what you're going to do. I always advise every single one of my clients who are coming off of hormonal birth control, just start supplementing with these at least 3 months before coming off. It would be best if you were supplementing with these the whole time, so it will be less stressful for your body to come off hormonal birth control pill. But if you're planning to come off, start these now. And if you already came off, it's okay. Start these now. It took me about 3 to 6 months after implementing these to fully have my cycle back and to not have acne and regain my ovulation and fertility. Now I'm pregnant, so don't worry. So you want to be focusing on your liver, on your gut, nutrient deficiencies, and stress response. It is completely possible to balance your cycle naturally again, but it requires some very intentional care. So here are some concrete ways that you can help your body come back to balance. And remember, your body always wants to come back to balance. It's always trying to find balance. So when we give our body the raw materials to do so, it will find balance again. Firstly, we're going to replenish those depleted nutrients. Make it a priority to restock on vitamins and minerals that the hormonal birth control pill or hormonal birth control robbed our body off of. This is key. You are going to supplement with vitamin Bs. A methylated vitamin B complex would be best. Your body absorbs it the best way and can use it the best way. I'm also super sensitive to vitamin Bs, so a methylated liposomal vitamin B was the best one for me because it's best to take them on an empty stomach in the morning. If I don't take a high quality vitamin B, it makes me extremely nauseous. I'll literally throw up. But when I take a liposomal methylated vitamin B, I don't have that issue. So if you're also sensitive to vitamin Bs, this could be a reason why. It's just your body can't handle it very well. Especially vitamin B6 and folate are extremely important. And I would take folate separately as well, especially if you're trying to conceive when you're coming off. Magnesium glycinate, a high quality zinc, vitamin C, and E. And selenium, you don't really have to supplement with. Just eating 2 Brazil nuts a day is going to be enough. Vitamin C, I think, is always pretty good to supplement with. But if you're eating a lot of citrus fruit, a lot of kiwis, then maybe you don't need it. For example, in the mornings, I drink warm lemon water in the morning, which is amazing for supporting your liver as well in metabolizing and detoxing through all of those excess hormones that are lingering in the body. You obviously get a lot of vitamin C from that. So your call if you want to eat more fruits that are rich in vitamin C or if you want to supplement it with it as well. But I would definitely supplement with the vitamin Bs, magnesium, and zinc. All of these support your hormones, your thyroid, your energy, your mood, your brain. For example, magnesium and B6 can really help with anxiety and stress and stabilizing your mood. And zinc can really help with skin healing. A lot of people ask me, is a prenatal enough to balance your hormones after? I would say no. You are coming out with a lot of nutrient deficiencies. And honestly, not all prenatals are created the same, first of all. And I tried that method. It did absolutely nothing for me. It did not regulate my cycle or heal my skin issues. So I wouldn't say that just the prenatal is enough. Depends what prenatal you're taking also. I love Parallel. If you're trying to conceive, I would take the Parallel preconception packs. If you're not trying to conceive, then the women's hormone balance one is really, really good. But a lot of prenatals don't have enough of what your body is needing in this time because you are going through such a big time of transition. You want to support your liver, like I said earlier. Warm lemon water in the morning is amazing. Herbs like cilantro, dandelion, milk thistle are incredible. I love the liver juice from Organic Olivia because it has all of those beautiful herbs that aid our liver in the natural detoxification process. Our liver is in charge of metabolizing through all of those hormones and all the toxins in the body, so liver support is extremely important. This means you might also want to cut out alcohol and refined sugars, at least for a little bit, or limit the use of them because you really want to be supporting your liver. NAC can also be really amazing for your liver, as well as eating, I can never say this word, cruciferous? I don't know. Vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, because they contain DIM, and DIM is amazing for not only your hormones, but for your liver as well. And anybody wondering why I can't talk, I am from Finland, so sometimes certain words I just can't say in English. It just doesn't happen for me. You need to support your gut, heal your gut microbiome, get a very high quality probiotic. Thrive is amazing. My favorite one is the Not Your Average probiotic from Organic Olivia because it has Lactobacillus rhamnosus in it as well, which supports the skin. So especially if you're dealing with skin issues, Lactobacillus rhamnosus is amazing. That is also amazing for pregnancy. This probiotic has been my go-to for the last 5 years, and I still use it during pregnancy as well. To feed the gut bacteria that we are now eating through probiotics, we want to support it with fiber. Fiber you can get from fruits and vegetables, flax seeds, whole grains, because this is what the beneficial bacteria in your gut eats. So they thrive off of fiber. You can also eat probiotic foods like sauerkraut and kimchi or coconut yogurt. Those are my favorite. You don't have to eat a lot of them. Just a couple spoonfuls before meals is enough. So you want to diversify that gut microbiome again, introduce that good bacteria back to really help balance that gut. What I also love to do is drink raw organic celery juice in the morning. It can be a small glass like this. I make it myself just in a juicer. Only celery juice, that's it. Drink that 20 minutes before you drink or do anything else. It can really help the gut, and it also helps to hydrate your body. Something that can also be really beneficial is aloe vera juice in the morning on an empty stomach. At this point, eating an anti-inflammatory diet is important, and also supplementing with omega-3s, because omega-3s are one of the best things that we can do for inflammation, and so is turmeric. Both of those are amazing for inflammation and for your hormones. What I started doing for the inflammation and for my skin health is turmeric and ginger shots every single morning. Just literally a little shot can go such a long way. I make them myself, again, in the juicer or in a blender. It's not hard. You just add some turmeric, ginger, lemon, black pepper, and maybe some water. Blend it up, take it as a shot. You're good to go. Foods that are rich in omega-3s are salmon, walnuts, flax seeds, all good for inflammation. For soothing your gut, you also might want to start something like bone broth or collagen peptides. They really support the gut lining. But if you don't respond well to bone broth or sauerkraut, kimchi, and fermented foods, you might have something called histamine intolerance. So if you feel like your skin and body gets aggravated and you get heart palpitations and anxiety and you may be flushing out after eating those foods, don't eat them because you are having a histamine overload in the body and your body doesn't respond well to them. I have a histamine guide in my social media bios that you can download that's going to help you understand histamine intolerance and what to eat. If you're having hormonal acne, you might want to also stop dairy because dairy aggravates androgen hormones, so male hormones like testosterone in the body, and that can contribute to that hormonal acne. Or if you feel like you're getting really bloated after eating dairy, that's something that you may want to limit or eliminate from your diet completely. Healing your gut is super, super important after you come off of hormonal birth control because not only does it, of course, improve digestion and bloating and comfort, but it also helps your body to absorb nutrients, lowers inflammation, and helps with hormone regulation. You also want to eat for your hormone balance. What I say most of the time is that an anti-inflammatory diet, especially in the beginning, is important, but at least a blood sugar balancing diet. It is super, super important to keep your blood sugar balanced because an imbalanced blood sugar can be behind a lot of hormonal issues. This is especially true for PCOS, but an imbalanced blood sugar not only affects our hormones and stress levels, but it also affects our skin and our mood. So eating for our hormones and our mood is super, super important. This means prioritizing protein and healthy fats at every single meal. Also, fiber is amazing. So what I do, for example, in the morning is eat eggs and berries or vegetables and maybe some complex carbs from a good, healthy seed, artisanal, gluten-free bread or with some sweet potato or something like this. Absolutely amazing. So every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner has protein, healthy fats, and fiber. You're not going to skip meals. You're not going to intermittent fast because when you are in this stage and your body's trying to recalibrate and start producing your hormones again, if you are depriving your body off of nutrients, you're not eating enough calories, and you're not providing your body with the raw materials to produce those hormones and balance again, it's not going to regulate. So you need to eat. Our body needs amino acids from protein to balance and produce hormones, cholesterol from healthy fats, which is the backbone of our sex hormones, plus omega-3s to lower inflammation. Complex carbohydrates and fiber is needed for excess hormone elimination to fuel our brains and our energy. Those cruciferous veggies like broccoli, cauliflower, and dim are not only good for your liver and your hormones, they also help to eliminate excess estrogen from the body. Flax seeds are amazing, also in binding excess hormones and to balance hormones. And healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, nuts, and seeds aid in hormone production and reduce PMS. Meanwhile, high refined sugar intake and alcohol can really wreak havoc on our hormones, on our liver, and contribute to hormonal acne, energy crashes. So let's eliminate those or limit them at least. Drinking caffeine is okay, but you want to drink it after you have your breakfast. So after you have healthy fats and at least protein in your system. This can mean 1 egg, chia pudding, Greek yogurt with some berries, or if you want to do your own protein coffee with like MCT oil and some protein powder, that can be great as well. but drink it after you have something in your system, and don't drink it after 12 because excess caffeine intake can really mess up our cortisol, then through that affect our blood sugar, and through that affect all of our other hormones. Especially if you have chronic stress already and you keep adding caffeine to that, it's going to worsen that chronic stress. Too much caffeine can, of course, trigger anxiety, insomnia, especially while our body is trying to regulate and rebalance. Because your body is going through so much, you're definitely going to want to focus on reducing stress and sleep. External stress can really throw off our hormonal axis, so it is crucial that you nourish your nervous system and your brain and reduce your stress levels. Cortisol, your stress hormone, is very closely linked to your sex hormones. So too much stress can suppress ovulation, cause irregular cycles or no cycles, and worsen acne. So you definitely want to focus on reducing your stress. Whatever practices that you can do that lower stress for you are great. For me, I love yoga, walking in nature, and being in peace in nature. Also, laughing with my friends and spending time with my friends and loved ones is a big thing for me for lowering my stress. Meditation can be great. Breath work can be great. Reading, journaling, drinking a cup of tea, but watching TV and scrolling on your phone don't count. Movement and physical activity is amazing for lowering stress and also boosting your mood. So getting movement in every single day, at least 30 minutes, whether it's a walk or whatever have you. Movement is medicine. Movement is great. Sleep is non-negotiable. You have to get a minimum of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You have to. If you get less than 7, that can really throw off your hormones for the rest of the day, for the next day, because sleep is when your body rebalances and heals and your hormonal glands recharge. It is important to live with your circadian rhythm to really balance your hormones. So in the morning, get that natural cortisol spike by going outside, looking out into the sun or into the daylight, and that's going to also help your body produce melatonin at nighttime to relax and go to sleep. Your circadian rhythm is the 24-hour cycle that your body functions in. Magnesium glycinate at night can be really, really helpful for that. I take magnesium every single night. Also, calming herbs like chamomile, relaxation, and putting your screens and your blue lights away at least an hour before going to sleep. Red light can also actually boost melatonin. So what I did is that I got non-flickering LED red lights in the bedroom, and I read with that to boost my melatonin production. Remember, stress is a hormone disruptor, like 100%. So self-care and taking care of yourself and your stress levels is not selfish. It is mandatory and it is needed for your hormone balance. Nature has given us some amazing herbs that help to balance our hormones. Vitex is one of them. Vitex is amazing for regulating our cycles and our progesterone production. So it can really help our bodies to produce progesterone and ovulate and then have a regular cycle. Dawn Key can also be amazing for balancing estrogen and progesterone. I like getting both of those in the Flow Balance tincture from Organic Olivia. I was taking that for the last 5 years before I was pregnant. Definitely helped, definitely worked for me, and couldn't recommend enough. The one silver lining that we have when we come off the pill is that we are going to learn our bodies and our hormones and our cycles again. And we're going to learn to understand our bodies. Take this opportunity to track your cycle, learn your triggers, and learn about your hormones and your body. By observing your body's signs of ovulation and menstruation, you're going to learn about your cycles. For example, your basal body temperature. Your basal body temperature changes every single morning based on your cervical mucus and your cervical position. So you get a better understanding of where you are in your cycle. If you're ovulating, when you're ovulating, and how long your luteal phase is. We have 4 phases in our cycle, which we don't have when we are on hormonal birth control. This is only when we are off hormonal birth control. So menstruation, which is the bleeding. Follicular, which starts the day after you stop your bleeding and it lasts about a week. This is when our hormones start to rise again and we have the most energy and we're usually super happy. Ovulatory is when our hormones reach their peak, so they're at their highest. So ovulatory phase is usually our best phase. After that comes luteal phase, where all of our hormones start to drop, especially our estrogen drops, and then we have a progesterone spike. And then in our menstrual phase, all of our hormones drop when we are bleeding. This basically means that every single week or even every single day, our hormones are changing. So there's a lot of change happening in the body, which affects our mood, our metabolism, our skin, energy, everything that we do. So looking out for the signs of our body temperature and our cervical mucus, for example, in our ovulatory phase, our discharge becomes more like egg white. It's like super stretchy and liquidy. That's when we know we're ovulating. And in other phases, it can be a little bit thicker and there might not be as much of it. Those really help us understand our bodies, understand our cycles, and where we're at. There's a company called Natural Cycles that has a basal body thermometer that you can use. Also, it tracks with the Oura ring. Also, the Ultra Human ring, which is what I use, can be really helpful with tracking your cycle. So there are symptoms and there are ways to track your cycle to know more about your body and what's going on. Also, this can be a great way to prevent pregnancy. We can only get pregnant when we're ovulating and the 7 days before that. So basically, if we have regular cycles, that's important to know. If we have irregular cycles, it's hard to predict when we are ovulating. But if we have a regular cycle, it's actually very easy. This is how I didn't become pregnant until I actually wanted to. But if you're still regulating your cycles, I wouldn't trust just that method. So I would definitely use condoms. Condoms are the best way. Also the only way to prevent STDs. So that's something very important to remember. Also, the pull-out method can be great for me. Again, I have my partner of 10 years. We've been together. And what we did is that I tracked my cycle and we did the pull-out method. And we did not have even one scare in the last 4 years since I quit. So we only got pregnant when we wanted to become pregnant. But again, this depends on your cycle and your partner. I definitely find that tracking my cycle is super, super empowering and it helps me understand my body and how to support my body. For example, our body acts differently in each phase. Like I said, those rising and falling hormones really affect everything, how our body functions. So exercising differently, eating differently, which is called cycle syncing, is really, really beneficial. I'll have another episode just on cycle syncing. But it can really be an empowering and fun tool to live with your cycle and learn about your body. This is a huge part of kind of connecting with your body, trusting your body, and holistically supporting your body and living with all of your cycles that are completely natural and normal. For so long as women, we're trying to suppress our cycle and trying to live against it in this male-dominated world. But it's, at least for me, I find it super empowering and beautiful to live with my cycle and understand my body and understand how I can work and live better and always have better mood and lower my PMS and my acne and all of my symptoms while living in sync with my cycles and my body. So how can you prevent pregnancy without hormonal birth control? There are definitely effective ways. Like I said, with regular cycles and with a regular partner, tracking your cycle and the pull-out method can be very successful. It can be the same as being on hormonal birth control, so 98%. Condoms are also 98% with perfect use. Diaphragms or cervical caps, especially combined with spermicide, can also be a great option. The copper IUD, the non-hormonal IUD, I have some issues with. Some women love them, amazing. However, some women get scar tissue on their uterus. It works up to 10 years, but I do have concerns with it. But it's definitely something that if you want to try it, it is 99% effective. And it's kind of like one of those, just insert and forget about it. And you don't have to think about birth control. It can also make your periods heavier and make you have really bad cramps, especially in the beginning while your body is adjusting. But this may not be good if you're already struggling with really heavy periods. The thing is that every method has its pros and cons. So you are really going to have to think about what is best for you, what makes you feel the most comfortable. I'm not saying that nobody should be on a hormonal birth control. It can be very helpful and effective for some women. You just have to know how to come off safely and support your body while you're on it. Be aware of the risks, because a lot of them have risks, like we talked about, osteoporosis and strokes and blood clots and things like this that are actually very severe. The key thing that I want you to hear here is that you have choices. It's not only the hormonal birth control pill. You have a lot of other choices to prevent pregnancy and also heal your hormonal imbalances and the symptoms that you're experiencing. Coming off the pill was one of the hardest things that I went through and experienced, because I was so out of touch with my body and I was so confused and I had no idea what was going on and how to help my body. And I wasn't getting the help that I needed from doctors or anybody. So I really had to learn and dive deep into this on my own. I learned that the quick fixes that come with hormonal birth control are not worth it, at least for me. This is something that you have to weigh for yourself personally, of course. However, with the right support, your symptoms can be managed or even eliminated, and you can get back to balance once you have all the raw materials that your body needs to produce hormones. What I want every woman to feel is confident in their bodies, confident in understanding their bodies and their cycles. Connect with your amazing female body, because our bodies are absolutely incredible. I'm in awe of our bodies and how they work every single day. I'm such a nerd when it comes to women's bodies. I hope that this made you feel a little bit more educated, a little bit more knowledgeable, and a little bit more supported. You got this. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for listening.